Good morning on this Tuesday, February 4th. Welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett on News 6 Plus, clickorlando.com, and our YouTube channel. I'm Bridgett Ellison. Good to be with you. Hope that you are able to get through the fog again this morning because we are starting out foggy again. So we'll check in with Candace in a second and get some of the top headlines as well. And we have a live interview coming up this morning with Harbor House, and CEO of Harbor House, Michelle Spurzel, will join us because this Thursday is the 12th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes fundraising walk, and it is a great event that really is a fun time for the community to come out and help support survivors of domestic violence. This is one of their major fundraisers, so they still want you to sign up and come out on Thursday afternoon, evening. So we'll have those details and a live interview with Michelle coming up shortly. But first, let's get you ready to head out. And Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is in the Pinpoint Weather Center. Candace, foggy once again, but we can't really say same story because fog is one of those things that's sort of unpredictable.
I mean, really, and at the end of the day, I think conditions, when I was driving in this morning, were actually better. And now the conditions are actually worse than yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's really the thing about fog. It's hard to pinpoint because it doesn't stay the same way the whole time. So it kind of fluctuates a little bit. It kind of dissipates. It kind of rolls into one neighborhood versus the other. So at this point in time, it seems like it's almost a blanket area wide across Central Florida, where visibility right now, the best locations, Melbourne and East Smyrna Beach, and that is visibility at only miles. Everybody else is less than about a mile. So we're really looking at very dense conditions. Now the fog is a little peskier and thicker than our usual foggy conditions, and I'll explain why coming up in just a bit. But yeah, foggy conditions this morning. We'll have another round of foggy conditions early tomorrow morning, possibly Thursday morning as well.
Wow.
So the setup over the next couple of days. Yeah. But the other thing is once we're done with the fog, we're going to be dealing with a lot of warmer weather. Temperatures for today running about 10 degrees above average. So copy, paste yesterday's forecast for the next 3 days or so. So let's take you to the maps. This is what you can expect. Again, foggy for the first half, warm and sunny into the afternoon. But again, we got to get through some of that fog. Right now, we have that dense fog advisory in effect for everyone from coast to coast here in Central Florida until 10 a.m., as we will continue to see that visibility fluctuate and dip down as much as a quarter of a mile or less. Now, everywhere you see a 0, that's basically a quarter of a mile or worse, down to about a tenth of a mile in some locations. Right now, Sanford and Kissimmee, about a mile or so. But notice that the white contours here highlights pretty much all of Central Florida. Now, with that being said, the fog will linger till about 10, which is why that dense fog advisory remains in effect. But along our coastal communities, it might stick around until about lunchtime. That's what happened yesterday. So we'll continue to watch that closely. But other than that, taking here hour by hour, highs today running 10 degrees above average, 82. That is our forecast high this afternoon. It will take some time to get some of that sunshine back out, but it will by this afternoon. Now, looking at our lows for tonight and early Wednesday morning, once again, repeat performance, warm, muggy, not much of a breeze in place, so fog will also be back into the forecast. Let me show you here. This is our visibility tracker. You can see that the fog still lingers throughout about the 7 a.m. hour, and that's going to be the same story for tomorrow as well. Now, let me explain one of the reasons why we have the fog. And the biggest culprit actually has to do with all the cold air we saw last month. So temperatures were in the 40s during the day. We dropped down into the 30s at night. It was a record cold January. Well, all that record cold cooled down our ocean temperature. So right now, our waters right off the coast are like in the mid 60s. So what's happening right now is we have cold ocean waters, and now we're seeing the return of the tropical, humid, warm air kind of running over the ocean. So what ends up happening is the ocean cools down the air above it, and that air then condenses. Think of the same way as when you put a cold glass of water outside in that warm, humid atmosphere, and all that condensation starts forming around the glass. That is the same exact thing that's happening, but right now it's happening in the air. So all that condensation is coming in the way of sea fog, and that fog starting along the coastline early in the morning, and then all of that continues to develop and push further inland. So that is the reason why during February, we really tend to see kind of the worst fog events here in Central Florida because normally it follows cold conditions to start the year and then the surge of warmer air. So do expect foggy conditions for the next few mornings. But speaking of warm air, it looks like we could be staying well above average, Bridgett, not only throughout the next 7 days, but even as we head into the middle of February. I put the Valentine's Day logo there because this outlook takes us all the way till February 14th. That dome of high continues to hold on and hold on pretty tight across the deep south. And that is why temperatures are going to look a whole lot like this. Highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s until further notice. But yeah, if you were wondering why the fog has been as intense and as thick and as widespread and why it lasts so much longer than a usual typical fog event, it's that ocean. It's that combination of that sea fog that's really kind of worsening conditions for us here.
So, and I guess we need a little bit more wind, or it's just not as breezy to move it out, or.
Correct. Right. First, we need if we get a nice breeze in place that mixes the air really nice, and then fog kind of dissipates pretty quickly. The other thing is it's just going to take some time to get that ocean temperature warmed up again, and we'll warm up pretty fast with temperatures back into the 70s. Ocean temperatures will be back into the 70s pretty soon, but right now it's just super muggy, super warm, but the ocean is still very cold. So it's that 1-2 punch that we'll be seeing for a little bit.
But those afternoons have been really nice. So looking forward to that for sure. All right. Thanks, Candace. I'm going to check in with Trooper Steve. Okay. See you in a bit. All righty. Let's head out with Trooper Steve. He is rolling out in results 1 this morning. And how's it looking, Steve?
Well, I think the general consensus, it's a hot mess out here right now. So, well, there's fog everywhere. You have probably about a mile visibility. I-4, no matter where you're getting on this morning, it's pretty nasty. Let's get straight to traffic because we got a lot going on right now. Northbound lanes of I-95 are currently shut down at US 1. All traffic being pushed off there at the 273 mile marker for an overturned semi truck that's at the 277. So anybody and everybody who is headed northbound from that area of Volusia County headed north, we are past at this point, almost backed up towards I-4 through Daytona Beach. People need to pay attention this morning. Also, we are working a fatal crash investigation in Osceola County that has Orange Blossom Trail 1792 shut down at Parkgate Drive. This is by Good Samaritan Village, just west of Pleasant Hill. This has caused an absolute disaster for that entire area. Pleasant Hill is backed up for several miles. We're seeing delays for Horizon Middle School, Pleasant Hill Elementary, along with even possibly Poinciana High School traffic as well. So if we already know this area is an absolute soup sandwich when it comes to traffic, throw this on it. It's extra mushy out there. So people need to pay attention. This fatal crash has been there since about 2 o'clock this morning. And we're about 5 hours into it. Also, major traffic alert for Brevard County down in South End in West Melbourne, the city limits there. US 192 is shut down westbound at Hollywood Boulevard for a water main break that occurred yesterday evening. Now, this area will probably be closed for several, if not today, tomorrow, maybe even all the way towards Thursday. I'm trying to click through my stuff here so maybe I could show you a picture of exactly what we were dealing with out in this area. And I think I got one right here for you. And you can see here, this was a daytime photo that was taken yesterday out there. And this is a disaster. So if you're having to come in from Brevard, head west towards Osceola County, keep in mind you'll be under a detour. All of these crashes and closures, you need to add at least a half an hour. Now, Bridgett, the fog is dense out here. People need to make sure that they are focused. They get rid of the phone because the aggressive driving that I already saw this morning, people think like, oh, it's foggy. I can get in and out of this if I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing because a crash will occur. So please increase the distance. Like I've taught Candace, no high beams. Make sure you're maintaining your lane. And that you are paying attention because this stuff will probably linger up until the 11 o'clock noon hour, just like Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos is pinpointing. And we will see it again tomorrow. So have this stuff in your head because right now we're seeing delays everywhere right now.
Yeah. Oof, what a mess. So we'll look for some more updates from you soon, Steve. Thank you. Anything else before we
Yep.
go?
I'll be up in Barberville off of State Road 40 and 1792. I don't get up into the country portions of the area very often, so I'm actually excited to get up into horse country up there. We're going to be looking at that intersection in some turning lane blind spots and stuff. So join me today, 10 a.m. clickorlando.com.
All right. Hopefully things a little bit clearer for you by then. Hopefully. But we'll see. All right. Thanks, Steve. We do have a few headlines to get to this morning. Then we have a live interview with Harbor House and CEO Michelle Sprezel about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, which they are taking registrations right now. That's coming up on Thursday. But first, though, something that's been years in the making. There have been many delays and frustrations, but finally we could know by the end of today what the permanent memorial for the victims of Pulse will look like. So the advisory committee is set to vote on a final plan before sending it out to the city leadership for that final approval. And News 6's Mark Lehman explains more about why this has been such a long time coming.
It's been nearly 9 years since the Pulse massacre. During that time, there's been uncertainty on a permanent memorial for the victims, but now the city of Orlando is finishing those plans.
We gotta wrap this up now. The committee has done, I think, a really job first in coming together.
During its final meeting today, the Pulse Advisory Committee will go through the design to honor the lives taken during the tragedy. The concepts include a reflection space formed by the footprint of the original Pulse building, 49 columns in tribute to the victims, and a garden along with an education pavilion.
They talked about plants and trees and a place to reflect. And I think this has pretty much hit the nail on the head for most of them.
The plans are happening after the city bought the Pulse property in 2023 when plans for a memorial and museum fell through. The One Pulse Foundation that was leading the effort at the time dissolved a few weeks later.
I'm not going to rehash the demise of One Pulse. I think that that's in the rearview mirror at this point.
And so we'll keep you posted on how things go today. Also this morning, another SpaceX launch just after 5 a.m. It was breaking news on News 6 Mornings. And this is the latest round of Starlink satellites now in orbit, and 21 into orbit just after 5:15 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And minutes after liftoff, SpaceX did confirm that the first stage booster landed safely on a drone ship in the Atlantic. So good news there. Another smooth launch there. This morning, we're investigating something that is very scary, but just an odd occurrence. A large chunk of ice fell on someone's home out in Palm Coast, and Troy Campbell went out there to find out more about this and shows us what firefighters in the FAA have to say about it.
Take a look. This is the exact ice remaining of it that hit the roof of this home. Firefighters say, thankfully, no one was home at the time.
Apparently, someone saw some ice fall and struck a residence and also struck a roadway nearby.
Palm Coast Fire Chief Kyle Berryhill says never in his 20 years has he responded to a report of an ice chunk falling from the sky.
This is a first for me. It's not something we see every day.
Take a look at the damage the ice chunk left behind in these photos taken by the Palm Coast Fire Department. You can see the ice puncturing the roof of the home along Seattle Trail. Chief Berryhill says it likely fell at a fast speed. That would go to show the force.
Definitely there was significant force from what fell. It did damage to a metal roof.
Chief Berryhill says the fire department contacted federal officials.
And then we made a report to the FAA under the presumption that potentially this could come from an airplane.
The FAA tells News 6 it is investigating the incident. According to the FAA, when it gets reports of falling ice, the agency tries to determine whether the ice could have come from an aircraft and then identify aircraft potentially involved. The homeowners also tell News 6 they're thankful they weren't home at the time. In Palm Coast, Troy Campbell, Getting Results, News 6.
That was really frightening. I'm so glad no one was hurt there. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with a live interview with Harbor House about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes that is coming up on Thursday. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We're excited to bring you some details this morning about Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. It's something that we have covered since its inception, and this year it's the 12th annual, happening on this Thursday. It is a big benefit for Harbor House, which helps support survivors of domestic violence. And this morning we have the CEO of Harbor House, Michelle Sprizzell, with us once again. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
It's good to see you. I can't believe it's been 12 years already for Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. I remember the very first year, and I think we put Matt Austin and a few others in some heels to go promote that.
That's fantastic. I've been with Harbor House for 8 years, and so I know my first year was Mayor Dyer wearing giant boots, and he walked the entire walk. And so it's amazing how much the community comes together for this event. And it's really about men taking a stand and having the conversation about domestic violence and how they can all be allies and also hold other men accountable when it comes to violence against women. So it's a fantastic event to raise awareness.
And so what are the particulars? Because it's coming up fast. It's this Thursday, but you can still register and come on out on Thursday.
Yes, you can come on out on Thursday. So it's a really fun event that's about a serious issue. We're starting at the courthouse. It's going to be $25 to register without a t-shirt, $35 if you want to have a Walk a Mile t-shirt. And it's really, when you get there, it's going to be a small welcome ceremony. There's going to be other domestic violence providers that are there, people who help support individuals, such as the clerk of court. Harbor House will be there. Victim Services will be there. We do a quick little show and tell when it comes to different people who want to sign up and show their shoes. And that's what you're seeing on the B-roll right now, which was a really fun part of it.
Yes.
It is. It absolutely is. And then we have dancing. We have, like I said, it's a fun event to really raise awareness when it comes to domestic violence. And one thing that's, I believe, is really special about this event is that the fundraising aspect is done by the different people who sign up for the event. This isn't one where Harbor House is going out and we're looking for sponsors for it. We are really looking for individuals to use their peer network and support them as they're walking this mile. And so different people, like this one's very special because people are coming out and they're walking for themselves. They're walking for their sister, their brother, they're walking for their mom, they're walking for their best friend. And we have placards that people put on and that say who they're walking for, if they're and so that they can do it in honor of. And that's one thing that it's really special about this event that we don't do at some of the other ones.
Because we always like to say survivors of domestic violence, but unfortunately many people coming out in memory of someone.
Absolutely. And I would have to say those are the individuals who are so passionate about why they support Harbor House. A lot of them, their loved one lost their lives and they had never reached out to a domestic violence center. And so they didn't have the safety planning. They didn't have aspect of having advocacy or having an advocate to talk to or to be in touch with that large network of people who can help support them as they're on this journey. Because it is a journey. It's not easy. People often say, why doesn't she just leave? Or why doesn't he just leave? When you have kids, when you have everything you have wrapped up in the house, for you to walk away from it is incredibly hard. And so that's another part of this, is to raise awareness about what resources are in our community and how we're working together to help individuals who have experienced domestic violence, how we can help them as far as accessing services, and also for people to know that they're not alone.
And it really is one of those things like a silent killer, because so many people who fall victim, sometimes no one had any idea what was going on. And so you have lots of resources to help people in all different types of situations to find a way out.
We do. And this is one of the, and you've, and I've talked about this a lot, is that, you know, having access to an advocate, knowing that it's confidential, that you can reach out and be anonymous. You can call on behalf of a friend. You can call yourself to a crisis hotline and start talking through what it is that you're experiencing. A lot of times people just think that this is it, that there's nothing beyond where they are right now. And that's where talking to an advocate and really knowing that there is life on the other side of domestic violence, and that there's individuals who will help you go through that. And there are individuals who will share resources with you. If it's shelter, if it's filing an injunction for protection, if it's sitting down and getting mental health therapy, if it's sitting down with an advocate, if it's sitting down with other people who have gone through it, those are the different resources that we're talking about specifically for someone who's experiencing domestic violence.
And sometimes people don't know where to start, but sometimes it's just making that call. And so you have a hotline that people can call and just have someone to talk to and try to get an idea of where to start.
We do, and it's something where people can call or they can also text us. But at the same point in time, it's one of those things where people don't think about the fact that they need a domestic violence service until they need it, or they are just sort of like, oh, I need help and I don't know how to get that help. And so that's why having awareness events like this are incredibly important. So people know that Harbor House is here, that we have more than a shelter, that you don't have to reach out to us because you think that you need to just reach out to us for an emergency shelter, that there's all these other ways that we can help support individuals who are on their journey. It might be that we're helping them with staying in their apartments because of the fact that they are being financially abused and the abuser's not there. But at the same point in time, now they are not able to make rent because of the fact that they don't have a dual income coming into that apartment. There's ways that we can be able to help with someone who's looking to career in a different way. And so we'll put them in touch with Career Source, different housing options. And so that's the piece that's so important about working together in our community and making the connections.
And not so long ago, you added that component for people who maybe, like you said, not just children, but pets as well. A lot of places couldn't take you with a pet, and then you all were able to sort of incorporate that into what you could offer people who were looking for a way out.
Yeah, our Pause for Peace program, and that's another program that New Six is a huge supporter of, is our Pause for Peace kennel. And so a lot of times individuals they don't have kids, but they will stay because they don't want to leave their pet behind with the individual who is hurting them. And so we've removed that barrier by having an on-site kennel. We have seen a lot of animals this year, and often animals are the first victims when it comes to domestic violence in a family. It might be that the abuser is using to coerce the survivor. It might be that they're utilizing the abuse on the animal as an example or a threat of, I'm going to do this to you. We've had abusers who've withheld food from the animal, and then a survivor has to make a choice. Are you going to eat, or is your dog going to eat? And so it's a huge life-saving program. We have another fund that's set aside specifically to help fund with veterinarian services that go along with the animals who are coming into the kennel, and also individuals who are out in our community who we're working with that have pets at home. So we're able to provide them with preventative medicine. But of course, in our kennel program, when someone's coming into the emergency shelter, if the animal's been hurt, we are able to provide veterinarian care to them. And it's a really amazing, life-saving and life-changing program, because the unconditional love that people get from their pets, a mom doesn't have to explain for children, we're leaving, but we're going to leave your dog behind because there's no space for them. We've removed that as well. And a family can stay intact in that way. And so it's been one of my favorite programs, but at the same point in time, it's one of the programs that makes it so much easier for someone to leave.
And another thing we should say too, we would say, it goes without saying, but we should say for anyone who's not familiar that, this event Thursday is Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, but Harbor House serves men and women.
We do. We serve men and women. We serve men in our emergency shelter. We are blessed to be set up in a way that we are able to do that. And every year we have anywhere between 10 to 15 men who are living in our shelter who are victims of domestic violence. We also take, I say obviously, but it's not the case everywhere, but we take children. And so we have boys and girls and children who are up to the age of 18 living in our shelter with the non-offending parent, if it's a man or if it's a woman. And then we also have our outreach program, and that's where we serve the majority of men. It's individuals who are seeking an injunction, who need aspects as far as how do they navigate filling out the paperwork. So we have an office on the 5th floor, and we also have injunction for protections attorneys that will help give legal advice. And so that is free legal advice when it comes to injunctions, and also will represent individuals when it comes to that hearing. And so we really do our best to serve anybody who's experiencing domestic violence, and we do it by all the vast services that we have.
And I should say, too, you're excited about that hub that you're working on that will be like a resource center for the public as well. What's the latest?
So the latest is that last week we brought together over 100 of community individuals, people from faith-based, people from the Orange County government, from the city of Orlando government, law enforcement, and also other service providers to roll out the idea of having a family justice center here in Orange County. It's a model that has existed for about 20 years across the United States and also worldwide. There's probably 300 plus family justice centers in the world. And it's just a model that hasn't been in Florida. And the idea is that everything that a survivor needs for them to navigate their journey when it comes to domestic violence is all in one place. When we were doing a mapping of one of our survivors a week after, within the first week, basically, of her experiencing her domestic violence incident, she traveled to 14 locations and she filled out over 150 pages of paperwork. And so what we want to do is make it so much easier for a survivor to be able to seek services and receive services. So everything would be co-located in one location so that she would be going, or he would be going to one place where there's going to be childcare so that they don't have to worry about dropping the kids off someplace, that there's going to be law enforcement there, that there's going to be advocates there, mental health advocates there, and other entities that are helping an individual who's experiencing domestic violence navigate through that journey. And so that's where we started last week, is we brought everybody together to talk about the model, to talk about the idea. We did focus groups with all of those different individuals. People had wonderful questions about logistics. They had great questions on how does this all work and how would we be working together? Like, how, is there one intake? Is there two? Like, what's going on here? But it's a model that was based on the Children's Advocacy Center, where a child goes to one place and the parent goes to one place. And so this is for individuals who have experienced domestic violence, and then it would grow to sexual assault and human trafficking, and having all those resources in one place for the community.
What's your hope on the timeline for that?
So we are going to be doing a strategic plan in the summer. And so after that, it would be really setting the timeline for what we want to, how we want to scale it, how do we want to open, who would be the first community partners to be in that kind of floor model with 4 or 6 of us all coming together to work on policies and procedures, and how do we share information. So that's what we're going to be doing in the summer, is talking through all of those ideas and logistics and what we want to see and what we want to do.
Wonderful.
And it was great. There was great, I would say, buzz in the air. It was incredibly, hope was definitely there. People having a really good experience exploring something different that we can do together to really help.
Wonderful. Well, that's super exciting, and great to hear more ways to sort of support the village. And so hopefully folks will come out on Thursday. Michelle, and where can we go for more information to get signed up or look for other ways to support Harbor House?
You can always go to our website, which is harborhousefl.com. And that's one way for you to find out more about Harbor House. If you need help, that's another place to go to learn more about us and the services that we offer. And if you're looking specifically for Walk a Mile in Her Shoes, you can go to our website. You can go to events and click on the link there, or you can always look up Walk a Mile in Her Shoes Orlando, and that will come up as far as that site is concerned as well. And then last, you can always just come out. Like, it starts at 5:30. That's when registration starts. You can always come out. It's right downtown. Like I said, we're starting at the courthouse. And so you can just come out and
well, Michelle, I'm running out of time. I'm getting a wrap, so I got to go. But it's always good to see you, and hopefully lots of folks out on Thursday. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great morning.
Take care. You too. And that's going to do it for us. We'll be back at noon. Have a great day. Be safe.